Ellie, what are we doing today? What we do have going on here, we need to work on this Rincon. Apparently there's something going on, most likely with the torque converter. From the looks of it, it's been through a lot. Half the plastic's already taken off. That'll make my job a little quicker. But we got to pull this motor. Yeah, see if we can figure out what's going on with the torque converter. Basically, I haven't driven it. This battery they gave me on here is completely dead. But the guys are telling me it runs fine, but it'll go 60 yards or so, maybe not even that much, and then it just kills the motor. Taken a while, but I finally got this side stripped most of the way. I started disconnecting these cables, and I just wanted to show you guys a couple of things. This exhibit A, that's not normal. I think this is the crankcase vent. I may be wrong, but because I can't see where it goes down, but this was a booger to get off right here, this main connector that goes into the motor. I think that goes to the stator and everything. This is the other thing. I got this connector off. I'm not sure exactly what it goes to. It looks like it could just be a fuel shutoff. That's what it looks like. Anyway, look at this. Yeah, that doesn't look good. It smells like fuel. That could be a whole nother issue. This thing doesn't even have the pull rope on it. It's pretty damaged. I mean, it's really messed up. I'm going to go ahead and soldier on with this thing, but it doesn't look good. It looks like somebody just absolutely didn't care about this thing and wore it out. That doesn't look good. I don't even know what that goes to. It's almost like a brake cover. Look, I'll bet you that goes in there. And I found this spring. There's a couple places this could have came from. Most likely it's from the oil filter. But hey, what do I know? Froze up bolts here and may end up having to get cut off for the exhaust because they aren't budging. I'm going to try something besides just putting oil on it because that's not going to probably help much. One thing I wanted to show you guys is how much oil is inside of here. It's leaking out. It may be fuel, but I'm thinking it's oil or it could be coolant. Who knows? It's coming down right here. That may just be coolant. There's probably more wrong with this thing than what any. You can see this main seal. Okay, we got everything taken off. They put a spacer in this side which comes out so it can move forward, and that way we can get the rear drive shaft off. We should be able to drop this whole motor down. There we go. Look how nice that is. Nice when you have all the right equipment. I forgot to take off the starter cabling. I thought I had it all. There she is, completely out. Sits on here quite nicely. Yeah, I want to scope that before I tear it down, because if it's something I can get out of there, then all I got to do is just pull one side off, and I can get to the oil pump, this seal here. Let me grab a couple paper towels. I've got one of these really cheap Wi-Fi cameras, and I can tell you right now I'm gonna buy. I don't think it's gonna fit in here. Got inside of it, and when I looked, I couldn't see anything wrong. Scoped into the oil pan That's what you want to call it. I didn't see any dirt. So we are now to the point where we've got to flip to the other side and take a look at the oil pump and that side. And one thing I did notice is somebody has disconnected the sensor here for this low oil. I don't know. I never did see an extra wire. I'm hoping that I didn't do all this because that's not connected. What I'm trying to do now is just button this side back up. I did get the seal out. I probably would have been able to get it out without taking this side off. Late in the day, I'm fixing to quit. Before I do, I'm going to pull this off, and that way I can give them an update. One thing I don't understand is, see, there's a coolant bypass here, right? Somebody disconnected this thing. I don't understand that. I think what they did is, see this? That doesn't look right. I'm pretty sure that's not stock, because maybe that broke off. So I'm going to take a look at that and see if that's the case. That's something that probably needs to be fixed. I don't know if it really makes a whole lot of difference, but I would think, take a look at this. Is there even an O-ring? No. Somebody came in here and put Teflon tape on it. It's probably not such a bad thing that we had to take this thing apart, honestly, because there's little things like this that make a big difference in the long run. Alright, I figured it out. It was just hung up, I think, on this shaft. You can see right here. This is what everybody talks about. That O-ring's shot. It was cut when it was installed. This one looks okay. Okay, I replaced this O-ring before I make it really hard on myself to install it back. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together and then get a hold of these guys and let them know what's going on. Since I think I've got the problem figured out on it. I was having some problems with this sensor on this side that tells it, you know, what gear it's in. I could not get it out, so either it's flipped upside down or something's going on in there. I might have flipped it upside down when I was jacking with it, so I need to pull this side back off again just for that. And I'm gonna double check the torque converter and the oil pump before I reassemble it. You know, all the hard work was pulling it out. Now that I know how this goes back together, then that's not going to be that hard. I mean, it's still going to be a pain. I can't put it back in the machine really until I get these seals on. I'm waiting on those to come in, so I'm going to go ahead and knock all that out. You can see how bad that leak has been. Got it pulled apart again. This sensor should just be pulled out before you assemble it. That way you don't get that screwed up like I just did. So I had to take this all the way back apart again because I didn't have that lined up the correct directions. Which would, who knows what that would have happened? It would have been showing reverse instead of first or something weird like that. The hardest part about this was figuring out where to position this so it would evenly distribute this spacer. You got neutral, and then one of those is forward and one of those is reverse. Trying to get this in there the way it's supposed to go was the most difficult thing. If you go too far one direction, that looks good and that looks good. So I'm going to put it in neutral, and then you have to line up the little messed up splines on here through that piece. Once you get them lined up just right, they'll go right in, and you can tell there's a little gap in there. So now if we go into one gear, the problem was this distance here. If you get it a tooth off, it'll hit and it won't let it sit into that gear. There's just a tiny space there, and then if we go the other way, there's just a tiny space there, so it has to be perfectly aligned before you put it back together. I went ahead and pulled this sensor out when I put it back together so I wouldn't get it flipped around. So I'm going to take this thing apart, take the torque converter out, and I'm going to go ahead and clean it up and see if there's anything in it. It's hard to do, but it can be done. I'm going to try that, and I'm going to make sure that it's working one way and all that kind of stuff. I managed to get this torque converter loosened up, so let's pull this thing out. So the one-way bearing seems to be fine. I don't feel any slippage. I'm going to go ahead and clean this out just to make sure there's not any gunk in here. When I put it all back together, I'll know for sure there's not a problem with this. There's no binding or anything. We're going to do this the right way, and we're going to run it in our ultrasonic cleaner. I've got to get some diesel. I'm going to put diesel in here, maybe put a little bit of gas in it to help break things down. But I found that diesel works really well for anything like this that I'm working on. Grandpa taught me that. Let that sit in about 30 minutes. That's usually all that thing's good for, is to run it for 30 minutes, and then you got to let it rest. That should break anything off of any parts that are inside of that. I got all the air out of it. Once that's done, I'll clean it. We'll see what's in there. I kind of have a feeling there's nothing in it, but I told those guys I'd take it apart and clean it. I'm not understanding exactly what they're saying, so I've got to get it put back together and test it to see what the heck it's doing. Maybe if I connect that oil sensor, it just runs. We'll see. I got this cleaned up about as good as I want to clean it. You need a steam cleaner for that thing if you want it any better. These are all shipped with crappy switches, so I don't know how long that ran. I noticed the other one that I've got, it's got a crappy switch on it. This is all very clean looking. If this had something in it, it would be coming out right now. Most likely it's that O-ring causing the issues. I'm gonna replace the O-rings in it, put this all back on, just double check my the oil pump. We're just losing pressure, I guess, when the fuel gets hot. And yeah, I talked to one of the guys and they were telling me it would bog down and die. I didn't understand what he was saying. Okay, we speak two different languages. Bog down and die means the motor dies to me, but apparently it would quit going forward. It wouldn't drive anymore. And after talking to the other guy that I guess was using this four-wheeler also, after talking to him just now, he's saying that the engine would run and rev up, but it wouldn't go forward. Now that I understand completely what was going on, the engine wasn't dying, it was just wasn't going forward, then I know we're on the right track here. I'm hoping that I can find a seal kit. I'm going to go ahead and leave this off. I want to find an OEM seal kit for this. I've got O-rings and all that good stuff. What I want to do, since I'm not sure if my generic O-rings are good enough, I need to go see what they're made from. They're probably made of nitrile, and if they are, then what I have is made of nitrile. They should be fine. There's two original O-rings. They feel a little bit on the hard side. And then I've got these made in China. Just says standard on it. It may cost a little bit more to buy a new set. At least I can be confident they were the same that came from the factory and it would last a long time. I was thinking somewhere on this dang thing there'd be a tag. I saw the tag on the motor, got a picture of it. Didn't really say much, I'll look it up, but I was hoping to see the date of manufacture. Here are TRX650 FA3. I went ahead and pulled this thermostat off. I wanted to see what they had done. At the bottom of it, there's a relief. Well, no, they just plugged the relief hose and then stopped this up, it looks like, with, you know, a nut or something. There's a reason why they put that bypass in. Imagine it's good for the water pump, which I need to look at also. Well, apparently what was in there was probably pressed in and it is now gone. Got all of the replacement O-rings. I got replacement pump rotors for the oil pump. The only thing I wasn't able to get was on the oil straining tube, which was actually not a big deal. It doesn't hold pressure, so I'm not too worried about it. I was mostly concerned about these ones that have to hold pressure. I'm going to put all this back together with brand new pump gears, brand new O-rings, OEM, so we know that they'll hold the pressure, because I didn't want to use generic, just in case. And then we can start putting this whole thing back together. I changed these O-rings out to new OEM O-rings, and they just have this nice satisfying fit. The gears for the oil pump are swapped out, and I'm going to put this back together and then move on with the rest of the installation. This back together, and I want to be sure that I got everything lined up and make sure my water pump's turning. You can't really see in there, but it is turning, so I know the oil pump and the water pump are in line, connected. I've got a lathe, I've got some material. Maybe I can build a piece that will go down in here and allow us to hook the bypass hose up. I got the new seals for the output shafts in for both the front and rear. Okay, so there's the sensor. One way or another, I'm going to attach something to it. Either it's going to get soldered on there, or I'm pulling off the old sleeve because it looks like it might come out. That's a bullet connector, the female side. It works. It'll work just fine. I just need to splice it and crimp it. So once I get this put in place, this will be on the wire along with this, and I'll be able to just push it on. I was just about to put this on, which is just a little hose connection onto the main or the motor. I got to looking at it. It had all this crap on here, and look at it. It is chewed up. There's holes in it. You can see the holes on this side. And they had wrapped it up in Teflon and put a bunch of goop on it. I think I can use some aluminum tape, get it around that and get it to seal properly, because there's still enough structure there to hold it in place. A couple of O-rings. Every time I do something, I soldered around this thing and smoothed it out on the sander, and then I put some aluminum tape to give it a little bit better surface. I'm going to reuse the original O-ring and put some pookie on it because it fits pretty snug now. I'm gonna go ahead and put some silicone on it. I mean, it may not be necessary, but I don't want this thing to leak. Found a piece that I could turn down and put in here with, it's got an O-ring spot on it. So the hardest part's going to be to get it to go in. I think I'll be able to do that, and then it'll fit along there, and then hose will fit on that. I'm pretty sure the old one was a press fit, so I'm going to press this in the best I can. When I turn this, it's a little bit, it's at a cone shape there, so I should be able to get it to go as far up as possible, and then it should seal. It's going to be sealed and it should be tight. Well, we got her in place. Just got to mount it down, and I don't want to mount it until I know I got everything in here like it's supposed to. Pretty sure I need to put the rear axle on before I really mount it. I need to pull this thing back out. In my haste, I forgot the most important thing. I just noticed it. The torque converter. Can't believe I missed that, but it's been a few weeks since I worked on it, so forgot. Now I get to have the fun of pulling this back out, the side back off, converter back on, all back together again. Not gonna record, pretty aggravated. Hopefully I'll get back to this point and start. Alright, I got it back in there and all back together, resealed. See, it's not here anymore. Finally got to the point where motor's back in the same spot it was. I'm about to put these drive shafts in. I was able to get that battery charged. Now that I know the battery's good, I don't have to worry about that. You know, get all the hoses and stuff connected and finish it up so we can give it a test run. Make sure we don't have any major issues before I finish the job. Go ahead and choke it if that even works. Oh, I don't have the fuel turned on. Oh, you know what? I don't have the dang spark plug connected. Duh! Probably don't need the choke. I'll wait till after lunch and then I'll see if we can move it. It'll be a little weird because I don't have any pedals. Goes. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know the first thing about this thing. Well, at least it runs.